I know what you're thinking. Another tinfoil hat. Another YouTube nut job whispering about lizard people and fake alien invasions. I get it. I used to laugh too. Until 2012, when I intercepted something I wasn't supposed to see. Back then, I was working as a technical analyst for a government contractor linked to geospatial imaging systems. I specialized in real-time satellite feed compression, innocuous work, mostly, but that year, while optimizing relay protocols at a facility outside Colorado Springs, I stumbled onto a hidden directory. It was labeled BBECHO_stream. What I saw, or thought I saw, was so absurd. I archived a copy, dismissed it, and moved on. I should have burned it instead. Before we go deeper, do yourself a favor. Save this, subscribe, whatever you have to do. Because if this video disappears, it's not because I deleted it. Blue Beam was just a name I heard whispered by a few paranoid ops guys in the break room. Most of them were ex-Air Force, stationed at Peterson or Schriever before getting funneled into the private sector. I didn't take it seriously, but this directory, this one caught my eye. Inside were image files and audio samples that didn't match any known celestial records. One folder was labeled Zion Echo, filled with ultra-high-frequency voice simulations layered over a pulsing waveform. The voices weren't in English, but somehow I understood them. Another folder had rendered footage: Manhattan skyline, Tokyo Tower, Mecca, overlaid with massive glowing figures appearing in the sky. I thought they were test animations, until I found the GPS metadata. They weren't renders, they were recordings, real ones. That night, I dreamt of the voices, clearer this time. They whispered numbers, coordinates, dates. One phrase repeated in chilling clarity: "The sky shall speak the language of God." I dismissed it as sleep paralysis. I've had it before. But when I woke, my ears were ringing with the same pulse I'd heard in the Zion Echo files. The sensation was like tinnitus tuned to a musical key. I ran a spectrogram scan on the audio I saved. Embedded within the frequencies were numeric patterns, ASCII encoded, too clean to be random. One line translated to, "Project Bluebeam Stage 3 ready." That's when I stopped laughing. I reached out to my mentor, Alan Kramer, a retired DARPA engineer who used to lecture about directed energy systems. He went quiet when I mentioned Bluebeam. Later that night, he called from a burner phone. His voice was tight. "Whatever you found, wipe it. It's not just military. It's deeper. Jesuit deep." He told me Bluebeam wasn't just theoretical. Serge Monist, the Canadian journalist who exposed it in the 90s, wasn't paranoid. He was a liability. Kramer said Monist didn't die of a heart attack. He was neutralized, silenced. You ever wonder why nobody questions the God voice tech patents filed after 2002? He asked, "The tech's real, and you're not supposed to have it." I started digging, quiet at first, FOIA requests, archived patents, academic papers. One patent caught my eye, US Patent 5,159,703, Silent Subliminal Presentation System. It described using low-frequency audio to transmit subconscious suggestions. Another was tied to Lockheed Martin, three-dimensional atmospheric holography using ionized particles, all publicly filed. All eerily aligned with the phases Monist described decades ago. Phase 1, engineered earthquakes revealing faked archaeological discoveries. Phase 2, a massive holographic space show. Phase 3, telepathic mind control. Phase 4, supernatural manifestation and total psychological breakdown. Sounded crazy, until I realized we were already halfway there. 3 weeks later, I received an unmarked USB in my PO box, no return address. Inside was a video file, grainy, timestamped the 17th of April, 2017, Alaska. It showed a remote forest clearing near Fort Greely. A sky lit up in spiraling blue patterns, then a glowing humanoid figure hovering above the trees. But it wasn't a drone or balloon. The figure flickered, distorted, but cast shadows, as if partially physical. A man's voice screamed off camera. They said we were testing interceptors. But that's not a missile. It's talking to me. Then static, the file name. Bluebeam_phase2_confirmed.mp4. I verified the video's metadata. It hadn't been altered. The coordinates matched a decommissioned missile testing site near Fort Greely, Alaska. I reached out to a former colleague, Tara Mendez, who'd worked briefly on AHAARP adjacent ionospheric heating project. When I showed her the footage, she went pale. "That's not just visual," she whispered. "They're using VLF carrier waves, that thing you saw. It's being projected through the ionosphere. The sky becomes the screen." She mentioned Project Resonance, a rumored black budget program that piggybacked on HARP infrastructure after 2009. Tara warned me to stop digging. "They can map your thoughts now. Once you see it, they see you." That night, I woke to a loud hum outside my apartment in Aurora. The streetlights flickered violently. My phone, powered off, buzzed on the nightstand. When I picked it up, the screen displayed a message. "The voice of God is not yours to hear." Then it shut off. No one else on the block reported power surges. No cell tower pings were logged. But my neighbor's security cam showed a black, windowless van parked outside from 3:12 a.m. to 3:48 a.m. engine off. No movement, just waiting. I left Colorado the next day and drove south. No credit cards. No digital trail. I headed for a storage unit I'd kept in Marfa, Texas, near the old Marfa Air Base. I knew the place was remote enough, disconnected enough, that I might be able to breathe for a minute. I brought hard drives, notebooks, and every analog copy I could print. But I also brought my father's journal, the one he kept before he accidentally overdosed in 1998. He was a linguist at Wright-Patterson, and he'd written about synthetic messiah protocols 2 years before monist ever published a word. The journal was full of strange symbols, some resembling Enochian script, others clearly phonetic transcriptions. One phrase kept repeating, "When the fourth voice sings, the veil will burn." My father believes certain tonal frequencies could induce religious visions in 87% of the population. He cited CIA studies from MK Ultra and Stargate projects. I thought he'd lost his mind, but now I started hearing the voices again. Only this time, they didn't stop when I unplugged everything. They whispered through silence. Out of desperation, I made contact with an independent archivist known only as Theo9. He ran a hidden database compiling declassified tech patents, whistleblower drops, and leaked FOIA docs, a kind of digital ark for suppressed knowledge. When I uploaded my copy of the Alaska footage, he responded with only one sentence: "You're not the first, but you might be the last." He sent coordinates to an abandoned NOAA observatory in Montauk, New York. They used it for Phase 1 tests, earthquake mimetics. Look beneath the water tanks. Montauk was rotting. The forest had reclaimed most of the access road, and the compound smelled of mildew and salt. The observatory dome was cracked open like a peeled orange. Below the water tanks, I found a hidden stairwell, rusted, narrow, descending into darkness. At the bottom, a reinforced steel door, unlocked but heavy. Inside was a small lab, dusty, but not abandoned. There were still coffee cups. A map on the wall was marked with pins: Quito, Alexandria, Jerusalem, Tokyo, all historic religious epicenters. The room was lined with reel-to-reel machines, old CRT monitors, and file drawers. On a desk, I found a binder labeled Babel_17. Inside were technical blueprints and the phrase typed in bold: Phase 3 initiation. Neural resonance calibration -93% effective in preconditioned populations. The files detailed how synthetic telepathy via ELF signals could implant emotional convictions, especially within individuals subjected to targeted trauma. It wasn't mind control. It was faith simulation. They didn't want obedience. They wanted belief. And they had a formula for it. Step 1. Psychological destabilization through war, economic collapse, and staged disasters. Step 2. Omnipresent surveillance and isolation. Step 3. Introduction of divine phenomena. Step 4. Transmission of an internal calling. It explained the mass sightings, the sky trumpets, the Marian apparitions, even that Jerusalem UFO from 2011. It was all scripted. I took as many photos as I could before I heard movement upstairs, footsteps, heavy ones. I escaped through the back duct system and slept in the woods. When I returned the next morning, the entire lab was gone. Not just empty, gone. The building had been leveled. Nothing but scorched earth. No official record of demolition. No fire damage reports. Just erasure. I went dark again. I buried the evidence, literally, in a waterproof case near Pyramid Lake, Nevada. I kept only a flash drive with 3 documents and a scrambled voice memo labeled cherub_calcine_alpha. The audio was corrupted, but one section played clearly. A distorted voice, maybe synthetic, said, Phase 4 begins when Saturn aligns with Orion, December 24, 2025. I checked the ephemeris data. It's not astronomically possible. But something else happens that day, the culmination of a global satellite relay calibration across 12 agencies. I triple-checked it. It's real. I started noticing patterns in media. Films, commercials, even children's shows began referencing light from the heavens, global unification. The voice beyond the veil. Was it cultural drift or conditioning? The World Religious Summit in Istanbul had a symbol eerily similar to the glyphs in my father's journal. A spiral intersected by 3 vertical lines. I'd seen it in Blue Beam documentation too, next to the term Neurotheological Amplification Node. At this point, my paranoia was total. I'd stopped sleeping, eating regularly, trusting anyone. But part of me knew I had to share this, not to stop them. That's impossible now, but to warn you. Because once the sky opens and the voices begin, you'll need to know, it's not God, it's not aliens, it's not salvation, it's psychological conquest dressed in divine spectacle. You must not believe what you see. I uploaded fragments of the evidence to decentralized forums, onion sites mostly, hidden from search engines. Within hours, 2 were shut down, not hacked, just erased. Theo9 vanished, too. His IP went dead. I received one final encrypted message. They're running final rehearsals. You're marked as Disruptor Class B, they won't kill you. They'll discredit you. And that's exactly what started happening. My social accounts were spoofed. Deep fakes of me saying outrageous things began circulating. Old colleagues got anonymous tips that I'd had a psychotic break. My landlord found pamphlets in my mailbox linking me to domestic terrorism. Manufactured insanity. The new censorship. I drove to my sister's in Flagstaff, last person who still trusted me. I barely got to sentences out before she interrupted. I saw something too. She told me about a strange aurora that filled the sky over the desert one night in April. She said she heard her late husband's voice calling her. It told her things he never said in life. It felt real, she whispered, but wrong. Like love wearing someone else's face. That's when I knew this wasn't about me. It was everywhere now. Quiet tests, calibration. I started mapping reported miraculous phenomena over the past 10 years, using reports from Vatican archives, UFO sightings, and social media. They clustered around satellite overpasses. GEOINT logs matched known satellite paths from the Iridium and Starlink networks. It wasn't just global, it was orbital. The infrastructure was already in place. They weren't projecting from the ground up. They were raining illusions from space. The final file I decrypted from the Montauk flash drive was the most damning. Titled Stage 4, Anthropocatholic Integration Protocol. It outlined an endgame. A single, global transmission lasting 96 hours. It would begin with celestial symbols, followed by a series of interventions tailored to each region's dominant religion. In Islamic countries, an image of the Mahdi. In Christian zones, Christ descending. In Asia, Buddha figures floating in radiant skies. Every illusion perfectly localized. Even the smell of sanctity was pre-programmed through synthetic pheromone dispersal. It was psycho-spiritual warfare. What made it work wasn't the visuals. It was the neural entrainment. ELF waves targeting the temporal lobe, triggering spiritual awe, a manufactured religious experience. That's why so many of the chosen claim to feel unconditional love or divine peace. It's chemically induced reverence. Your brain is no longer your own. Belief becomes code, and obedience becomes bliss, free will, optional. I broke into tears the night I realized what Blue Beam really was. It wasn't domination. It was conversion. Not just to one religion, but to a singular, programmed belief system. An artificial Godhead built from frequencies, light, and fear. The new Messiah will be a signal, not a man. And once it's accepted, there's no going back, because you'll want it. Every trauma, every question, every pain, gone, replaced by the illusion of meaning, of safety, of cosmic truth, but it's all fake. Beautiful, perfect, and fake. 3 days ago, I heard the voice again. But this time, it wasn't synthetic. It was my father's. He said he was proud that I'd fulfilled the mission, but I knew it wasn't him. He died in 1998. Remember, this voice knew things he never told me. Personal things, things I only thought, never said. That's when I realized they weren't just reading thoughts. They were mining memories. I've set up this story to auto-upload to multiple mirrors. If you're hearing this, then I've probably disappeared. Or worse, been rewritten, because that's the final phase. The thing monists never got to see. They don't need to kill you anymore. They just overwrite you. Your voice, your face, your thoughts, all replaced with cleaner versions, obedient ones. Already, the world's biggest influencers are using subliminal faith tone filters in their videos. Watch for the flicker. Listen for the pulse. I wish I could give you a clean ending. I wish I could say here's how we stop it, but I can't, because it's already begun. You'll see it soon. The sky is lighting up, the prophets returning, the divine intervention saving us from a global catastrophe that was scripted from the start, and you'll believe it. Because it will feel real. It will be beautiful. And that's how they win. If I vanish, don't mourn me. I chose this. I'd rather be erased with the truth than live a lie in paradise. Just remember this story. Remember me. And if someday you look up and see something too perfect to be possible, a miracle, an angel, a God, ask yourself, who benefits if I believe this? The symbols are everywhere now. On your phone, in your church, on your cereal box. Not obvious, just enough to slip into your subconscious. Spirals, trilines, watch for them. That's how they seed the blueprint. You'll dream about them before you even know what they are. One day soon, you'll look in the mirror and wonder if the thoughts in your head were ever really yours. This will be my last message. I hear the hum again. The same one from Fort Greely. It's getting louder. Something is descending. My hands are shaking. The lights are flickering. I see the shape through the trees, tall, radiant, familiar, but it's not human. It's perfect, too perfect. And even as I write this, I feel peace, I feel warmth, I feel love. But it isn't mine. It was never mine.